Hi, and welcome to Are You Done Yet? The podcast about your work and project management challenges. I'm Mike Taylor with Innovative E, and as always, I have with me Bryan Quick
Hi, everybody.
and special guest today, Aaron Boggs, our Director of Operations.
Hi there.
Bryan, it's been a while.
Yeah,
So maybe a couple months since we've been able to get to these, but we're back on track now. So maybe you could kick us off with the agenda we have today.
sure, Mike. It's been a really busy summer. We've been having some great customer conversations, and we've got some really exciting projects that we're working on here at Innovative E. Some new customers, some customers that we've had for a while, doing some new and innovative things. But one thing's in common, we're all trying to do better with work and project management on the Microsoft platform and find out what our customer journeys are and introduce innovative solutions that help them with those problems. So to that
Absolutely.
end, we've made a great addition to the team recently with our Director of Operations, Aaron Boggs, and you're back from having worked at Innovative E in a previous life. Is that correct, Aaron?
Yep, it's true. It's been about 3 years. It's great to be back. So just kind of settling in, but yeah, it's great to be back with the team.
Well, I'll tell you, it's great personally to have you back because as much as I love our customers, getting involved in the day-to-day operations of things related to that is really challenging when you're trying to basically also, talk to new customers and start new conversations and also make sure that our relationship with Microsoft is really tight. So it's great to have you back on board.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, and Aaron is actually he's helping us get better and scale as we grow with a lot of our operational delivery capabilities, get better tuned in terms of what we can deliver and how we deliver it, and built for growth. But he also gets involved with some of our larger, more strategic accounts. I know he's managing some of those. And Aaron, you have a background. I think one of the things we're going to talk about here today is, there's a real shift in the way people are thinking about project and work management, and with agile and all the other things that are coming in, and the cloud transformations. But you kind of have a background, right, in working in multiple different types of things, from traditional PPM, waterfall kind of methodologies, more, and also into the agile Scrum type of things as well, right?
I do. Yep. I worked across a number of different industries, and yeah, I have kind of seen it done many different ways. But it's interesting because there's definitely some commonalities you see across industries as well, and it's nice having that sort of breadth of experience to see some of those patterns and identify some of the things that work well, and hopefully use those to help other folks work a little better themselves.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we're seeing, you mentioned a minute ago there, Bryan, is that there really is this with the acceleration that's really happened, with the pandemic and everything else of a lot of customers' cloud transformation. A key component of that is work management and project management. So we do a lot that's in the space of actually getting people to the Microsoft cloud in terms of project to the cloud migrations, or maybe it's upgrades, or maybe it's dark to cloud type of opportunities to take advantage of it now that they're in the cloud. There's also a lot going on with trying to consolidate work around, this idea of context switching, or not context switching, and working
Right.
in unified areas like teams, right? So I know that that's something that's kind of dear to your heart, Bryan, and you've seen it a
Yeah.
lot. And there's what's the way you put it, that collaboration has always been kind of a second class
Second
citizen
class citizen in
in
PPM. Yeah.
in
I
PPM
feel
work
like
management.
I feel like that's definitely been the case. And when I talk to customers about that, it really seems to be resonating. And their eyes open and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." So I think that was something that we had collectively come up with in maybe previous podcast conversations and internal conversations about the direction of Innovative E. Is you had said, Mike, you know PPM systems, PMIS systems are a digital representation of what's really happening. And we've basically asked our team members and our project managers to go to a destination, a PMIS system like Project Server or Project Online or whatever it is that you have at your company, to represent what's happening in the project schedule. Microsoft's always been a little bit better at that, I think, in my opinion, because the schedule itself is synchronized with the PMIS system. It's not separate, and it's not just a representation of what's happening. It's a detailed work breakdown structure of what's happening. But even so, it's still somewhere you need to go. to put in the data. And I think more and more what we're trying to do is we're trying to use, try to meet people where they are in the everyday tools that they're using, and collect as much data we can organically without asking them to actually perform an action or log something or update something. And that's
Right.
what we're talking about when we're talking about don't limit the need for customers to switch between one application or another or do something special in order to log project management type, work management type data. This is where it's all going, and you can see, if you've already kind of gone a few steps ahead of what I'm saying, it's about artificial intelligence and about predictive learning about what's going on in your project without you having to tell the computer what's happening. And then there's an important aspect to this in terms of collaboration, right? And let's call it what it is. It's like a Teams tidal wave, right? Everybody
Absolutely.
is using Teams.
250 million users have just
Right.
Microsoft just passed 250 million on Teams. It's an incredible
It's like a
number.
Teams tsunami, right?
Yeah.
So I talk to customers every day and I meet new people. And one of the customers actually today had a really interesting situation that I thought we could help them with potentially. They're using Project Online. Great. They've got their files out there. They've got their risks out there. They got their issues out there. They're standing up automated project team websites. They've got workflow for demand management. It's like everything that we have been telling people about how to do and helping them do in Project Online for several years. And they've done it. Well, along comes Teams. And this tsunami that we're talking about, which really is pretty self-starting, right? It's grassroots in a lot of ways. And you've got project managers out there that are trying to use Teams to get their project work done. But their work is over here in Project Online, and they're trying to collaborate in Teams. And those two systems, although, I showed her how to light up basically a Project Online PWA team website within the team channel, that really isn't what we're talking about. We're not talking about
Right.
like a screen scrape of information
Or link over, right? Yeah.
I mean, that'll get you by maybe for a couple of weeks until that's not enough either.
It's not really
What
an
we're really
integrated
talking about
experience.
is staying in Teams
Right.
and using it all day long to collaborate on your projects, while at the same time getting the data in the right place so that you can report on it in the PMIS. And
Right.
that's what our product T4PM was created to do. So these are amazing conversations and very validating, as a matter of fact, to where we're going as a company.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about there is this idea of kind of democratization of work management for these higher end, what have traditionally been limited access to PPM solutions like Project Online, even Project for the Web, right? So you have a limited number of people who have access to them. And to get to the information, you have to understand the interface. And Teams aside, even if you have it linked in a channel in Teams, like you're saying, you're still going to end up linking over and going into Project. And if you want to enter an issue or risk, you're going to have to drill into it, or if you want to update a task or whatever. If you have a task, you go to my task or whatever. But what we're really talking about here is a way to consolidate that and put as much as possible. It's not possible to put it all there, right? If you're a project manager managing the schedule and you need to create dependencies, you're still going to do that in Project for the Web.
Right.
But if you're a team member or a portfolio manager or another stakeholder that needs to have access to specific information, you can do all of that within Teams, especially when you start using things like our Power Apps driven Teams for PM, which really allows people to not switch their context at all. They can be in there working on some other project or something they're doing, or may not even be a project at all. It could be some other work that they're working on. Then they just go to the Teams for that project. They go in, they start updating their task, and then what happens is behind the scenes it uses the Dataverse, or however it may work. In this case, it does use the Dataverse, and it moves that data over into the appropriate location. It might be Project for the Web, it might be Project Online, it could be a different application. We can extend it to do other things, and that enhances the experience. It reduces the complexity for the individuals, for the mass number, the greater number of people that are in there. The PMs or work managers are really the smaller number of people that are doing that digital representation work, right? The larger
Yeah.
number of people are all these, the doers, the stakeholders, the executives, everyone else. So we're really trying to give everyone much easier access and a much more ubiquitous access through Teams to do all this work,
Right.
and it makes it easier. And by making it easier, more data gets put in and more accurate
Right.
data gets put in because it's easier to do, it's more simple, and that you start building up larger data sets. That is kind of becomes that foundation for what you were talking
Mhm.
about earlier, which is more of the predictive analytics and AI and some of that
Right.
stuff that can come in the future. So it's really exciting stuff.
Well, that's just it, Mike. So, and she was like, you can't stop it. It's like we said before, you can't stop people from using Teams if you've made it available. And using it for project management is so logical,
Right.
right? Because projects are about getting work done, and that's what Teams is all about. It helps people get work done, helps people collaborate with one another. So it's just a natural evolution. But what ends up happening is people do things inconsistently.
Hmm.
They light up a project Teams channel, in Teams. Maybe they start their own team first, and then they start a channel. And then you've got a million different teams with a million different channels, and each project manager is managing it differently. Um, and she had spent a lot of time and effort and funding making things consistent, putting a governance in place, making sure that documents went in the right places, that they were version controlled, that people were using the demand management workflow, that the project websites had a consistent look and feel for all the participants. And there was almost a fear that that's all going to get put by the wayside because of this new tool.
Right.
And what we can do is we can keep all that. We can
Hmm.
retain all that governance, all that where the data goes into a central location. Because I like behind that, but everything I just said about what was maybe transpiring is the fact that what happens when people do things differently? What happens when data is in different places and in different buckets?
Yep.
There goes the reporting. It's
Yeah.
you just blew it up. And what happens is people end up spending it again, or it's like a bad rerun. People are spending an inordinate amount of time gathering data, going back to a spreadsheet, going back to PowerPoint in order to tell a story about what's going on. And they had fixed all this already, and they didn't want to have to fix it again. So that's the kind of thing that we're seeing happen in the market right now in certain scenarios. In others, and I know Aaron, you're helping customers kind of with different types of journeys.
Hmm.
Uh, you've got one customer right now that's moving from project server to project online, right?
Hmm.
And that's where they're at in their journey. At a
Right.
certain point, maybe because there hasn't been a lot of Teams adoption yet at that customer, we need to keep in mind and help them kind of head that off at the pass.
Yeah, as it comes. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things we've been talking a lot about the kind of traditional project and work management, but this concept extends out to other work management. So it can be things that are, there's obviously been a huge, agile transformation wave that's been going on. We've seen some customers that have gone very far over on that transformation and abandoned PM practices, only to find that they still need some PPM. And what at the end of the day, to run an organization, you need elements of agile and elements of traditional project and portfolio management. You need to be able to understand in certain cases where milestones are, and you need to be able to elevate and summarize things into portfolios, and you need to be able to do benefits realization and understand where resources are and all these other kinds of things. So it really is. It's, we've talked a lot so far today about what's going on kind of in the project space, but these other pieces become elements of this too. So I know you've seen a lot of that and kind of that push towards more of a homogenized process orientation, right? Right, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely, and it's a big challenge because you have these agile management tools, and there's a number of them that are quite good, but and a lot of them do traditional software development very well, but you start getting into situations where maybe there's a hardware component to it that can't, you can't really break into sprints. There's tooling and other elements that have to happen in a sequential phase, and it's a part of a larger project. And those
Mhm.
agile management tools don't really deal with that very well. So you end up with this sort of fractured management where you're maybe managing part of the schedule in something like project, and then you have an ALM tool that you're managing the software piece in, and you're having to try and reconcile those pieces together. So it can be a challenge.
Right, absolutely. So that's why, and I mentioned this a minute ago, and there'll be more of this coming up in future podcasts and things, that we really have shaped our vision a little bit away from just talking about project management and doing the things you can do and all up project management, and really the broader context of the vision statement that we have now is really enabling our transformation work and project management transformation at scale, and
Mhm.
maybe in parentheses on the Microsoft platform, and really utilizing all the capabilities of the platform to build the nexus of that capability. But it doesn't mean that all the products have to be Microsoft products, right? I mean, we are doing things in the agile space where we hook up ADO to project and other things like that, but we're also working to do Jira or ServiceNow or other forms of work management products where you need to have the information flow work together, so that you then can surface it in a way that you have all up, like you were saying, all up capability to manage those initiatives and be able to report on them and do those kind of things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of great conversations we're having that kind of start. They start with, I have Project Online and I have ADO, where I have Project Online and I have ServiceNow, where I'd like to tie the two together. And they really evolve and they bubble up into a larger conversation that we have with customers on value stream management.
Mm-hmm.
Value stream management being the ability to look into and report on the origin of defects, tasks, work that's going on, the basically the life cycle of it, and the culmination of it in actually a delivery of a solution or product to a customer. And usually that journey spans multiple tools, multiple teams, and organizations are looking into ways of getting insight into that start to finish life cycle of a conversation like that happening, a value stream. And that terminology and concept is really something that our strategic partner task top focuses on almost exclusively, and that we bring to the table during those kind of conversations.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we traditionally get involved. If you kind of talk about the where we get involved in organizationally, it's mostly in the past has been at kind of the tool owner level. So you're talking about EPMOs, PMOs, IT, maybe CTOs or CIO type level organizations. But when you start talking about value stream all up, then you start looking at everything that's even a little bit higher level. Kind of it involves people further up and down the kind of the organizational stack. So that becomes really interesting there, and you almost have to have those conversations across the organization because it affects so many different people. If you're thinking about it just from a tool perspective, there's value of putting two endpoints together, like a Jira in a project or a ServiceNow in a project or something like that, where you really start to see a lot of value in the value stream areas where you start to put multiple endpoints together, so you're having a lot of flow between them, and then you can start measuring that flow and you can start to do more interesting things with it.
Yeah, really, really interesting stuff. It's very crucial to a lot of companies to understand that. And it's an evolving understanding that they're coming to this realization that they need that type of insight. And it's something that we can help them with. So we've talked about T4PM, Mike. We've talked about how we're helping customers with this overall work project management at scale journey on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a lot of great conversations about Edison 365 ideas recently.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, innovation management has become more than just a buzzword, I think, in the
Mhm.
C-suite. It's actually become something that we're seeing more organizations formally build innovation management components into their organization, and people up and down the organization are being incented to make sure that innovation is part of it. And it's kind of ironic for those who aren't real familiar with it, is it seems like the more the kind of commodity type area of our customer set, so consumer brands type organization, um, versus maybe a more specialized software provider or something. The more that they're on that side, the more innovation matters to them, right? So we have a lot of very large scale organizations that are in consumer products and beverages and things like that, and innovation management is absolutely critical. And then it starts to move in innovation. It goes from innovation management, from like ideas and this concept of being able to make ideas pay, from the beginning through business case through projects and
Yeah,
delivery. And then you get in the delivery end of it, you start to get into the innovation program or project management, the IPM component. We're seeing a lot more of that going on too. So it's taking those ideas, vetting them correctly, getting the right kind of people involved, surfacing them across not just departments, but maybe the whole organization before you make a decision on where you're going to make your investment, harmonizing where those investments are. We're seeing a lot of that, right? And then as you execute it in a way that you continue to build the innovation piece into the project or program management piece. So it's really interesting. And the tools now, you've got Edison that brings a lot to the table, and you mentioned TaskTop, and now the Microsoft platform being able to pull a lot of that together with the Power Platform,
right.
and a lot of the things you can do with the Dataverse and the reporting, of course, with Power BI, and now Power BI Premium coming on board with the better licensing structure to make it more available. It's a really exciting time to be able to start to put all these things together in ways
Yeah,
that you never could before.
yeah, and it's almost like always back to full circle on the Teams conversation because it's
Hmm.
Microsoft has done an amazing job at really making it the glue for how organizations collaborate. So if you're leaving that out of the equation, then I think you're either missing something or you're not on the platform in a meaningful way yet. And
Right, right.
we talk about that too, Mike and Aaron. We talk about, okay, so maybe you're an organization out there and you're still using a competing video conferencing tool. You're using a competing tool for collaboration. Maybe you have several different collaboration tools that you rely on. It's not consolidated in one place. Your data is not all in M365 right now, and you're sort of struggling because you've got all these disparate tools. You've got stuff in your own data center, and everybody is working remotely and has been for the last year and a half. And you're struggling with this. This is when the Microsoft sort of wave just sort of washes over
Hmm.
these issues, and it comes and it says, look, it's time. It's time to go to the cloud. It's time to stop doing things in different ways, using different tools for collaboration in the organization. We need to do it all in one place because we're no longer across the cubicle from each other. We no longer go to the water cooler to figure stuff out and talk about it or get in a conference room and group up. That's what Teams is. It's like that office experience for remote employees and employees in offices alike. But I think even more, we've talked about this several times in our podcast, the organizations that had this type of these type of collaboration solutions before COVID-19 hit were more prepared for the future than other organizations that are just now stepping into it and coming to this realization.
Hmm. Yeah, and we've had customers tell us that as they had to quickly shift to a virtual environment, or even now they're in a hybrid environment, and some are never going back. It's going to be remote forever. The Teams has
Mhm.
been a kind of a game changer for that in
And
terms of the
sometimes a
work
life or
management.
death situation, a life or death scenario, Mike. I mean, you talk about our customer Guthrie Health
Hmm.
that in northern Pennsylvania, southern New York, that recently spoke at HIMSS and shared their journey about how they
Hmm.
were able to, um, with these systems in place, with the Microsoft Cloud,
Hmm.
and with the help of their partners like us, they were able to basically be more prepared
Hmm.
for this scenario. And it's a real life scenario where they actually had folks in critical positions at the hospital having to work from home, having to work remotely, and being
Hmm.
able to collaborate on patient care or decisions that the hospital had to make about how to react or
Yep.
plan for the
Yeah,
pandemic.
they did all of that and brought a new hospital online during COVID. So
Yeah,
it was pretty amazing journey they had.
right. But I want to get back on the ideas tip because I want to share a story with you guys from this week. Those of us that have been in field sales for a while, like myself, are used to carrying some luggage around and really never unpacking it. Just kind of adding some new clothes to it and then getting on the next plane, which was our my life for before the pandemic, and after that hit, I've been working from home and haven't really had a great opportunity to visit with customers on a regular basis because of the national and international nature of Innovative East business. We're not just regional. I can't just drive to my customers and see them or whatever typically. So, but I did have an opportunity to talk to someone here locally in Florida and have breakfast the other day. They shared a really interesting story about how they had created an innovation management tool in-house several years ago, using whatever their IT development department had some resources, and I think
Right.
based on SharePoint, where they were able to give it a name, put it out there with some very good success in getting involvement and people innovating at this company.
Mm-hmm.
And then the years went by and it sort of tailed off a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
where the novelty sort of wore off a little bit, and you would still get some good involvement kind of in spurts when they would sort of like shock it into back, and they would be like, hey, everybody put their ideas in about this.
Corporate communication sends a bunch of blast out.
Yeah, it's
Don't
like
forget Friday
thing. Anyway, but it had very good success over the years, and they've come up with some great ideas and implemented them, and they're serious about it, and it means a lot to them. But what happens there when you develop your own ideation system, and I think we've seen this from other customers in the past, and is, yeah, sure, throw up a SharePoint site, put a couple of lists out there, have people submit stuff in a form. But then you're not keeping up with kind of the latest innovations in that space, all the different ways that you can issue challenges and get
rate them
that
and
for people. Right.
right.
And it's the UI
Gamification.
isn't going to be as sexy. It's not going to be as engaging.
Right.
It's not going to be a destination that people want to go. Plus, the gamification aspect to Edison 365
Exactly.
ideas is so cool. Like, it's basic concept, right? We're all familiar with gamification at this point.
Right.
Badging,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to have different tiers of involvement and get
Mm-hmm.
points and really stay engaged with the my ideas page, where
Mm-hmm.
you have your profile and your score and your trophies and whatever. Um, it's just not there, right? With
Right.
a homegrown solution. That,
Yeah.
and there's always competing priorities in an IT
Right.
department. I've worked in several, and this is not always the top thing that they're worried about, right?
Right.
Is how to enhance the ideation website.
Right. And there's one other component that kind of goes along with that is the open innovation component as well, right? So that you can actually source ideas outside of your organization.
Oh yeah,
You can go to academic institutions, or you can go to other areas where there might be populations of folks who are interested in your products or whatever, and you can source ideas from those and use gamification with it and do all these other things. So that's something that would be really hard for an internal IT organization to develop and do it right, because of the security
right,
aspects and everything else, right?
right,
So that brings a lot to the table, and it's a very economical solution. I mean, the costing's just a few dollars per user. So
right.
it really is something we're seeing it take off a lot more these days.
Yeah, so we're talking about that. We're talking about all the benefits of using Edison 365 ideas for innovation as software as a service. And it really is an extension of your Microsoft platform solution, because all of the data is being housed in SharePoint Online still. It's just the UI is enhanced. You're getting their latest and greatest updates,
Yeah.
and you're able to really take it and really make it hum from there. So really cool conversations happening with Edison 365.
Hey, Brian, I know you got a couple other points, but one thing I did want to point out, for those who didn't hear, we actually we were able to win another award this year.
Oh yeah, that's right. Mike, I almost forgot. How can we forget? We haven't done a podcast since then.
That's right.
But we are the 2021 Microsoft finalist for Partner of the Year in Project Portfolio Management. So
Yeah. Yeah, super exciting. Hey, yeah, and that dovetails off last year. We were the Microsoft US Partner of the Year, and the year before we also were a finalist in the Global Project Portfolio Management Partner of the Year. So very excited, and it really is not possible, obviously, without our great customers, but all of our amazing employees and personnel and partners that bring so much to the table and create these really innovative solutions. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, very exciting. And just to emphasize again, like you said, without the opportunity to work on your customer journeys and think about them and listen to what's going on, needs and challenges of your organization, we wouldn't have the opportunity to create these innovative solutions and to be Microsoft finalist for Partner of the Year. So thank you, customers, for giving us the opportunity to be at the table and share in your journey. And one particular customer recently, Mike, that we are talking with globally here on planet Earth is basically a huge consumer goods products organization.
Very big.
Yep, it doesn't get any bigger.
That's right.
But they had some unique challenges around their work and project management journey. That we were able to get engaged in. And I know, Aaron, you're day to day on that now, although kind of coming in hot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I just kind of jumped in with both feet. We're kind of getting a project going to kind of bring together multiple different systems that they're using to manage their projects. They're on the Microsoft stack, and we're doing a little bit of custom development to try and tie them together so that they can, manage the agile pieces of their work along with the more kind of traditional waterfall elements as well. So, just tie that data together and let them work more efficiently. So it's an exciting place to be.
Yeah, one of the things.
Oh, that's Go ahead.
See, okay. So a really interesting part of that, though, is that this particular customer, when we got engaged with them, they had a vision that they needed to kind of have us work towards. And the first thing they needed to do is help mapping that vision to the technology set, because it wasn't a clear mapping, because they have very complex requirements and they have very specific ways that they see doing innovation and innovation project and program management. So we were engaged at a strategic level for an assessment, and Bryan, you helped drive that with the customer, and we went through and we mapped those needs to the requirements of what they were trying to do, and the outcome of that assessment was, here's kind of a plan to go forward. And now what we're engaged in is that minimal viable product, which is the project that you're leading there, Aaron, to get them there. And it also is relying a lot more on custom dev, because it is so complex. And I think you were alluding to that as well. It's not just it's complicated putting things together that are out of the box, but this one is a very complex building of a central kind of work management system.
Yeah, really, Mike. I mean, sometimes when you're talking to these large organizations, it's not about like, hey, should we use Project Online or Project for the Web, or maybe we need T4PM to glue them together. It's just a bigger deal. It's larger. There's more systems at play. There's more ins and outs to it. And without getting specific, sometimes custom development should be in the mix, in the soup.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? There's no other way to go.
It's kind of like, I think about it, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so glad to be here at Innovative E, is that I don't have to say, well, if it's not A or B, then we can't help you, right? If it's not going to be, well, we do this, we do Project Online implementations, we do Project for the Web implementations, and if it's not one of those two things, you need to call somebody else. What we have is this amazing, and I do mean amazing, office of developers, of custom developers that are enterprise experienced. They build solutions from concept all the way through to fruition and support. And they do it contextually with business analysis services included. What do we need to build? Why do we need to build it? What is it that we're going to do? What technology should we be using? Not just building something from a pre-written script or from a design document that the customer has come up with.
Right.
And
Exactly.
they're doing it in a very cost-effective, professional manner. There are folks over in our Sri Lankan office, and I just want to give them a shout out, Ruan Fernando and company, and all of his great team members over there, and they're growing too with us. So they're involved in this particular conversation and more conversations as we evolve.
Yep, absolutely. And you see that as part of the Microsoft Continuum too, even, right? I mean, they talk about the Power Platform, which has brought amazing things to the
Mhm.
story for customers. But you get to a certain part, and we're hearing this from customers as well. And if you continue to push past, what you can do with low code, no code, and you really start to scale it, and you try to do some really interesting things, where you got to be very specific around a process or a way something is surfaced or managed, then you're moving into the custom code space, which is it's just a kind of a natural continuation there, or you can just plug directly into using that where you need to.
Right. Now, if you're new to Are You Done Yet? And this is your first podcast episode with us, check out episode 9 with Ruan Fernando from our Sri Lankan office, explaining what they bring to the table and the value that they're bringing to our customers.
Awesome.
So, any final thoughts, guys, or anecdotal stories we need to share, would like to share with our community, or Aaron, I know that you're kind of involved in kind of the day-to-day operations of Innovative E and meeting with our customers, making sure our projects are going well.
Mhm.
And but what's that fire extinguisher for on your desk behind you? Is that so you can put out issues before they turn into fires, or what?
Yeah, I guess yeah, maybe there is a little bit of metaphorical value there, but it's also safety first, so it never hurts to have one nearby.
That's right.
Maybe I need one.
I need to do those too, but it's great to have you aboard, Aaron. Thanks for sharing some of your experiences, and as we move forward and grow as Innovative E, how fast are we growing, by the way, Mike?
Over 100% year over year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are growing not only in the number of customers that we have, but also in our employees. So we hope to be sharing a few other new faces with you soon. Until next time, this is Bryan Quick, Mike Taylor, and Aaron Boggs here from Innovative E from Are You Done Yet? Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
everybody. Take care.
Thanks.